and to read, plus to count a number 1 up to 100. And after he finished, he said that, "You're right, finished. No more to teach you again. Go and stay to your house, your father's house. No more again." So every children, they stop to read and write and to count number 1 up to 100, that's all. No education at first. There were no education at all.
Now, can you comment on after you were teaching or you became married? You married?
I began when I was a boy, like 12 years, is it? I began to teach, you see.
Yes.
And after that, after teaching, I married my wife.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, how did your father help you choose your wife, and the church did you? How did you decide who to marry?
Oh yes. My father, he had his sister, and the sister, she had got a daughter. And my father, while he was a boy, he told me that you should marry your cousin. I don't like you to go elsewhere to marry another woman unless your cousin. As you know that your cousin, her mother died and the father died. She's alone. No one who can keep her and look after for her. So please, you should obey my words to marry your cousin. And when my father-in-law died and mother-in-law died, they left their daughter in hand of my father. My father, the one who was keeping that, her nephew. Is it nephew? Is it? Oh no, niece.
Niece. Yes.
Niece at
Yes.
that. She was looking after her niece, together with us, to feed that his niece and feed him together in one house. And when she grew up, she said you should marry her so that you can keep her. I don't like her to go elsewhere. Sometimes she will lost. And then she made she made us to marry. She gave her niece to me to marry. So I married her.
So she was a Christian in the church as well as yourself then?
My wife.
Yes.
She was un-Christian. But I myself, I was Christian.
I see.
And my father said that in the future she will believe in God. If you teach her the word of God, then she will believe. She will believe us in God.
Yes.
And from that time, I married her, and then I began to teach her the word of God. And then she repented to Lord Jesus Christ. And God give us children. We have 9 children. And 3 dead.
You have 9 living now?
Yes, please. 9.
They're all over the country, all over South America.
Quite true.
Very good. Now, I keep thinking of more questions. I hope you don't mind. The next question that's come is, did anybody else come with Dr. Fisher that you remember besides your father? Did anybody else come from Kazombo 14?
Yes.
Can you remember their names at all?
Yes.
Probably dead by now.
I know. He came with some people. A woman was Nyarukuka. He came with Nyarukuka from Kazombo. Second, Nyawili. She was a woman. That's right, Nyawili. And then a person man, John Kapongo.
John Kapongo.
Yes, John Kapongo. And other one, Shita. The other ones. And the other ones, that's right, Sasusu.
Now, was he Lunda speaking? Luvali?
I think Shita, John, they were Luvali people. But Sasusu, he was a person came from Lubaland. He was just following Dr. Fisher because nowhere to go unless follow Dr. Fisher. And reach that Kaleni, they thought to go forward to their countries.
Now, when Mr. Suckling opened in Chitokoloki, did the Luvali speaking go to Chitokoloki? Or to Zambezi, what's now Zambezi district?
When the Suckling opened the Chitokoloki,
yes.
they were all the way in Lunda, see? Lunda country.
Right. Ah, yes.
Yes, they were Lunda country.
So what happened to the Luvali? Did they stay right here at Kaleni?
Luvali, I think unless those who came with Dr. Fisher.
They stayed?
They stayed at Kaleni. And after that, the son of Chief Sakawumba, he came. His name was Samukolo. And then he built his village in the bottom of Kaleni. From that time, many people, Luvali, came from Angola to stay with that man, Samukolo. He had a big village near Kaleni Mission, Samukolo. Plenty of Luvali. Yes.
If I can ask you how the chiefs felt about education that the mission was giving, were they happy or were they unhappy?
The chiefs were unhappy because the missionaries here, they didn't teach the students really education, only in vernacular. So the chief they were talking about it, they know we're still behind. We are in darkness. We want you, missionary, to teach our people as you can, to be trained them to be good boys and good girls, like another countries. And the missionary, they say that, well, we don't like to teach the people like to turn them like Europeans. No. We came here to teach them the word of God. And then we are mission, we are poor. We haven't got any money to pay the teachers. And second thing, we haven't got any money to feed the children. If we open Standard 6 at the mission, we'll feed them. No money to feed the Standard 6 students. So they found difficult in money, or to pay teachers, or to feed the children, because they have got no money. We got money from England, only from England. That's the reason.
So the chiefs were unhappy then, most of them.
Yes, the one has quite true in schools. Yes.
Well, now, would it be true to say that this is the reason why the Native Authority in 1940, 30s, 39, 40, 41 something, opened Muninunga Primary School? The chiefs wanted it open? Did they want that school open? Their authority?
To be Standard 6. To be Standard 6.
Well, just to open it, and then later became...
To open school.
At Muninunga. Do you remember why the school in Muninunga was opened?
Yes. I think the chief thought that if the school will be in the hand of the government, you bring trained teachers so that they can teach the student well. Because government is the one who have got enough money to pay the teachers. But with missionaries, they haven't got any money to pay the teachers. And the missionaries, they dislike to teach the student well. They don't like. They only like to teach them writing and reading, that's all.
Well, now, in 1950s, continuing on the same point, the Catholics entered, I think it was 1954, at
Matonchi, yes.
At Chief Kanangesha's area. Right? Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Chief Kanangesha. Did they come in because the chiefs wanted them to come in? To open more schools? Do you know why the Catholics came in? Did you ever hear?
I think they didn't call them. They just come themselves.
They came themselves.
See, know that Catholic, they follow the missions.
Yes.
They follow them like that.
Yes.
Missions be in front, and the Catholic, they follow the missions.
Yes.
And when they reached here, I think the mission, they didn't like Catholic people to build their schools here.
The chiefs did not, or the other mission.
Other missions. They
But
didn't.
how did the chiefs and people feel? Did they like it?
But the chiefs and people, they like. They say, yes, we want Catholic to build their schools here. We wanted to know, or to see the education. Who will be best to teach the children in the country? Catholic or missionaries? So they allowed the Catholic to build the school to Luau to teach the children. Because they want to know who best. Yes.
So, but the other mission, obviously, Kaleni was against this, probably.
Yes, there was
Very
a
much.
yes, that's right.
Yes.
They didn't dislike.
I believe you have something you'd like to add about one more school that you had forgotten.
To add,
If you'd like to give the name of the school and what you said about teaching.
oh yeah, about this teacher, is it?
Yes.
Inspector Ken
Could you give the name of the school first, then?
Kasai, is it?
Yes.
Kasai School. When Inspector Ken, Mr. Little, he passes through Kasai School, and then he found a teacher there. And then he didn't show anything to the inspector. Honorary football outside of school. And when they entered school, there were anything to taught the children in school. And when the inspector returned back, he reported to Miss Barth that is untrust teaching. I don't trust him. Sometimes yourself, missionaries, you can trust him. And then from that time, I said, no, I can't say that thing. No. Just miss one school, Kasai School.
Yes.
That's all. Kasai School, that's all.
It's now the afternoon. I'm making a few comments on the tape interview. One, it's quite clear from the interview with Mr. Sameta that Kaleni, Kamapanda, and Mujumbeji were distinctly different in education and educational policy, or from Simamel missions in Zambezi, as they were in general educational management. Towards the end of the interview with Mr. Sameta, he made a couple points, and obviously, to answer a question, he distinctly wanted me to turn off the tape, which I did. I'm mentioning these here at the end for my own use, sort of the confidential part of the interview here. One was the purpose of education as seen with the missionaries quite clearly, as he said on the tape, and more later, emphatically then. The missionaries considered education, the purpose of education, as being to help the people read the Bible and become believers. But the people's feeling of why they should be educated was more utilitarian, in that they wanted education for the normal reasons it's given elsewhere, to let them know the ideas of the world about them, and to be able to understand the new world about them. Third thing that came out at this time was about Chitokologi and suckling. It relates to what I just said. He said that because of the different attitude of the Kunilunga missionaries, especially with English, teaching English and suckling, this was one reason why George Suckling broke away and formed Chitokologi in his own way. And with the result that he had Zambezi became sort of the educational center of the province. Ahead of other districts as far as education and later educated manpower goes. Now, he himself, entirely off the record, was the one that brought in suckling and the reason for the break. My question had sort of been, was the difference of policy between the two missions? The reason why Zambezi was ahead educationally. So I think it's a double check that he said was not just sort of looking for what I wanted. I also asked him about the black missionaries who were in Zambezi, in Zambia, Angola areas in the early days from British Guiana, and he said he remembered his father talking of them and having seen them, and he didn't seem, he was sort of surprised by the question, and he obviously didn't want to say too much, as it probably would hurt the church. I'm afraid it might hurt the church, same as Lisbeth had been careful, to the effect that, but indicated that there was racial differences. There were differences, and they were probably racial in overtone, and there was
different places they lived in, and that he did feel initially, he said he would think about it. If he could find anyone to talk to about it, he would do so. That the people did respond very well to having colored missionaries, and that the differences were not just, in other words, theological, but they did have racial evidence. The second thing that came out in this interview that is important is the role that Mr. Sameta himself played, in that he was probably one of the first 10 men to even start education of any form from the province, and his long continued involvement with education, and his father's interest of coming from Angola, which ties in very nicely with what Benjamin Changi and Mr. Manuele implied about people following in from Angola with the missionaries. It also gives ties to what Reverend Ragsdale suggested, that there might be ties with the slave trade, and thus they followed the missionaries, people who had been ex-slaves or had been dispersed because of slavery. He also clarified the point that Miss Shaw was married to Dr. K, and that Miss Burr, who was so active in Canadian for so many years, married Mr. Milligan, who was just recently back in Zambia to visit Canadian, is now a widow and living in South Africa.